You see them everywhere, every single day, but have you ever really stopped to think about their story? It's a story that stretches back thousands of years, a story of royalty, rebellion, and of course, style. Today, we're explaining the incredible history of the earring. Well, the answer is the earring. It's kind of amazing, right? From the absolute dawn of civilization all the way to the modern red carpet, this one tiny piece of jewelry has been this constant thread, connecting totally different cultures and eras in some really surprising ways. So let's start at the very beginning. And our story doesn't just start a few centuries ago. No, we're talking millennia. Long before it was just a fashion choice you make in the morning, the earring was a seriously powerful symbol in the ancient world. What's just incredible is how widespread this was and how early it all started. I mean, think about this. 4,500 years ago, we're finding these ornate gold and lapis lazuli earrings in Sumerian royal tombs. Around that same time, you've got the Minoans on Crete and they're rocking gold hoops. And by the 15th century BCE, it wasn't just for women. We have clear, undeniable evidence of men, from Persian soldiers to Egyptian pharaohs, wearing earrings. This was not some fringe trend. It was a mark of the absolute elite. But here's where it gets really interesting. The meaning could be super complex. When Howard Carter finally opened Tutankhamun's tomb, he noticed the boy king's earlobes were pierced. But there were no earrings actually on the mummy. And this detail suggested that, in his time, earrings might have been something only worn by children, not by adult rulers. It's a perfect example of how, even inside a single culture, this symbolism could totally flip. And this whole idea of shifting meanings, it just kicks into high gear as we leave the ancient world behind. The earring symbolism becomes even more fluid, somehow managing to represent two wildly different worlds: the high society of courtiers and the rugged life of sailors out on the high seas. So picture this. It's 16th century England, and earrings on men become this huge fashion trend for what one writer called lusty courtiers. But get this. At the exact same time, a sailor's earring told a completely different story. It was a badge of honor, proof that he'd crossed the equator or sailed all the way around the globe. Isn't that fascinating? The same exact object could mean sophisticated court life and a rugged worldly experience. But then, bam, fashion just does a complete 180. In the late Victorian era and moving into the early 20th century, the actual act of piercing your ears falls dramatically out of style in the West. All of a sudden, it was seen as uncivilized, something primitive or barbaric. And because of that, clip-on earrings completely took over the market for decades. So how in the world did we get from barbaric to a piercing kiosk in literally every mall? Well, that's the story of the 20th century's great piercing boom, and it's a tale of royal influence. And, you guessed it, teenage rebellion. Okay, so a major turning point comes in 1951, when a young Queen Elizabeth II had her ears pierced specifically so she could wear a pair of diamond earrings she got for her wedding. Well, that was a huge cultural signal. It was like almost overnight, piercing went from being taboo to being respectable again. I mean, if it's fit for a queen, right? But the real revolution, that actually happened from the ground up. In the 60s, you had teenagers holding these rebellious little piercing parties. Then came these spring-loaded self-piercers you could use at home. This whole grassroots movement created a massive market, and pretty soon retailers got in on the action with the piercing gun, turning it into a quick commercial service. And finally, the body piercing movement of the 90s came along and professionalized the whole thing, with sterile needles and much safer advanced technique. And for guys, the 80s were an absolute game changer. Pop stars like George Michael made the single earring an iconic look, and that just shattered old barriers. For the first time in centuries, earrings were once again a truly mainstream unisex fashion statement, kind of echoing those ancient pharaohs and Persian soldiers from way back when. So this new mainstream acceptance, it just unleashed this absolute explosion of creativity. And today, the world of earrings is more diverse than it has ever been. At the most basic level, earrings really fall into two main camps. You've got your non-pierced styles, like clip-ons, which were king back when piercing was taboo, and then you have pierced earrings. And it's in the pierced world where the variety has truly gone wild. First up, you've got the classic stud. You know the one. It's often the very first earring anyone ever gets. Its magic is all in its simplicity, creating this cool illusion of a single gem or ornament just kind of floating on your ear. And then there's the hoop, I mean, this style is so timeless, it literally goes all the way back to those ancient Minoans we talked about. And it's so versatile, right? It can be anything from a huge statement hoop to those tiny little huggies that cling right to the earlobe. And of course, the dangle. This is a huge category that covers pretty much everything, from a simple little drop to these elaborate, shoulder-brushing chandelier earrings. This is really where artists and designers can go absolutely wild. Which brings us right up to today, because ear piercing has evolved from just a single hole in the lobe into this really sophisticated form of self-expression. Now, as piercing has become more and more common, we've gotten a much better handle on the risks. And one study found that while, complications can happen, the vast majority are things like minor infections or allergic reactions, usually to metals like nickel. Thankfully, more serious issues are actually quite rare. And this all leads to this super cool modern idea, ear curation. See, today it's not just about getting your ears pierced. It's about designing an entire landscape of jewelry. People are meticulously planning out multiple piercings all over the ear, the lobe, the helix, everywhere, to create a personalized constellation that's totally unique to them. And if you want to understand just how massive this has all become, just listen to this number. A single retailer, Claire's, claims to have performed over 100 million piercings. That's just wow. It's a testament to how this once rebellious act has become a totally universal rite of passage. So when you think about it, from a Sumerian queen's tomb all the way to a modern piercing studio, the earring has been our constant companion on this human journey. It's signified power, it's marked milestones, and it's defied convention. The only real question is, what story is it going to tell tomorrow?